Well, welcome to episode 5 of OS Talks. I'm here with David, Terry, and Paul Chason from Media Current. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to hearing a lot about Media Current in the next few minutes. And why don't you give us just a little bit of insight to who you guys are personally, where you're based, how you got to Media Current, a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, we actually, Dave and I have known each other for a long time, since elementary school. And in 2004, I was working the corporate world here in Atlanta, got tired of the corporate rat race and decided to move out on my own, build my own web development company. Did that for about 3 years and got to a point where I basically had to start turning away business and needed to either stay the same or grow my company. About the same time, Dave had sold a staffing firm, and he wasn't doing anything, and I was going through growing pains, and talking to him a lot about how to grow my business. One thing led to another, and we partnered up in 2007 and moved into office space. Had a business plan drafted, decided to focus or niche in one technology, and we chose Drupal and haven't looked back.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Paul and I have pretty complementary skill sets. He comes from more of a design and technology background, and my skill set was in more sales, marketing, and operations. So, as Paul mentioned, had organically grown a professional services company in a past life, and we decided to, when I was sort of in between assignments, I reached out to Paul, and again, he was sort of at an inflection point with either needing to scale his business, which was doing a lot of freelance work, or sort of stay independent. And we decided that we wanted to build a practice around an open source technology. We looked at a few, and at the time, Paul was just kind of starting on his first few Drupal sites. So we decided on Drupal, again, around 2006, 2007, and haven't looked back.
Can you guys talk a little bit about what it was like going from a freelancer to a design shop kind of mentality? What are some of the big decisions you had to make, some of the adjustments you had to make? Because a lot of our viewers, listeners, are in that freelance market and maybe considering making the jump to a much bigger firm.
Right. Yeah. So at the time, what predicated the decision to grow the business was really the fact that the web, around the mid 2000s was, growing at a lightning fast pace, as it is now. Technology just keeps on evolving. So I was working with a lot of different technologies: PHP, .NET, Flash ActionScript, database. I was doing soup to nuts, designing the websites, designing the UI, and doing all the programming. And got to a point where I just said, this is just too much. My brain's about to explode. There's got to be a better way. And as the technology evolved, client demands and requirements became more and more complex.
Right.
So as Dave mentioned earlier, around that time, I had dabbled in Drupal a little bit, made all the rookie Drupal mistakes. But really, saw Drupal as one of the CMS technologies that was kind of on the forefront. I had evaluated a few others at the time. So that was what kind of centered our decision to focus in one technology. We wanted to become very, very good at one thing. So that was one of our priorities. To your question about what it's like to go from a freelance mentality to a business owner or a team leader, the biggest obstacle is relinquishing control. As a freelancer, you're absolutely tied to the quality of your work. It's all on you 100% of the time, and making the switch from that mentality where you're relying on other people that you're hiring for the quality of your work, it can be difficult at times. I've found myself up at night, trying to keep myself from diving into someone else's code and fixing a function that I thought may have been written the wrong way or maybe not optimally. Right. So that was probably the most difficult thing.
Okay, interesting. Dave, you brought the business side of that. Can you talk a little bit about how that transitioned in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember I always tell Paul this, and I still do, that the most difficult thing that he'll experience making the transition from a freelancer to an owner of a multi-employee firm is just managing and motivating employees is extremely difficult, and I think it's just a real undervalued skill set. So it's one of the things that it's a constant work in progress and learning experience for us. But being able to manage and motivate employees is something that we really harp on. One of the other just biggest mistakes that we made early on is we just really undervalued the importance of a company culture. Okay. And we really spent a lot of time the last few years particularly, on building just a really amazing team of people and culture. And, we're really pleased with the results. We've been very fortunate in a highly competitive market to have extremely low turnover and really high client retention. So, it's been an exciting journey.
Would you attribute those two factors, the high client retention and the low turnover, part of that to be focusing in on one technology? Was that definitely part of the success model there?
Yeah, if there's one piece of advice I'd give your viewers, especially ones who are just starting out, is it would be to definitely focus on a singular niche or specialization. Drupal even right now is just so robust that there's so many moving parts. Just pick one. Maybe it's performance issues, maybe it's commerce, maybe it's content migration, and really position yourself as an expert in a smaller feature set starting out, rather than trying to be a generalist and everything to everyone. But yeah, we've been tempted on numerous occasions, especially when you're sort of in a valley when it comes to work. Mm-hmm. The tendency for a lot of entrepreneurs and firms is to begin to branch out, right, and to expand into other technologies. We feel at Media Current it's extremely difficult to truly position yourself as an expert in one technology, let alone Joomla, WordPress, all the other CMSs. So it's definitely been a core part of our strategy to not branch out and to have a singular focus in Drupal.
That's great advice, guys. Let me ask you another culture question, because how many of your employees are in the Atlanta area versus how many are spread all over the world? And how do you manage that? How do you build a culture with remote employees? I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, about a third of our employees are based in and around the Atlanta area, and the rest are in the Southeast primarily. We have we have a couple in the Northeast. Building a remote culture takes a lot of effort as far as communication goes. So we use internal collaboration tools such as Skype and Yammer to keep everyone engaged, and go about our day-to-day operations with kind of a Scrum or Agile mindset. We're constantly asking team members, what did you work on yesterday? What are your plans for today? What do you plan on doing tomorrow? It's kind of keeping that dialogue in play is crucial to keeping everyone engaged. In addition, we also do co-working days once a month at kind of centralized locations. So, for example, we've got a number of employees in and around the Orlando area that participate in a co-working day each month. Allows them to get together, collaborate, and just get some FaceTime with each other.
Right. Not so lonely, huh?
Right.
Anything else? Any other tips on that? I like the accountability thing. I think that's really critical in remote employees.
Yeah, I mean, just to continue on the it's a hot topic right now. Telecommuting and the Marissa Meyer kind of.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a big decision Paul and I had early on. Do we want everybody in a centralized office, or do we create kind of a remote distributed model? And for us, we needed to hire experienced Drupal talent kind of out of the gate because of the project workload we were taking on. So for us, it was a pretty easy decision. We early on realized that we needed to come up with processes and systems in place in order to manage a remote team. So that's what we've done. I'd highly recommend it. It's not easy. It's difficult, as Paul said. It's a lot of effort to put the right processes and tools in place.
Right.
We feel like culture is controlled by three variables: who we hire, who we fire, and how we professionally develop everybody.
That's
so,
great.
that is another just key point. A lot of times telecommuting just comes down to employee trust. I know there's images that, folks may have that people are working from home. They're watching cartoons and have their feet propped up on the couch. And, that did take some getting used to. But if you have the right people in place and there's that trust and good processes and accountability, it has not been, an issue, fortunately, for us.
That's fantastic, guys. Really appreciate you sharing some of the inner sanctum kind of ideas from Media Current. Moving along, talk about, I know one of your largest projects or one of your latest projects was Georgia.gov. Could you tell us a little bit about that project, how it came to be, about how long it took, because that's always an interesting topic in Drupal circles, and what kind of feedback you've had as a result?
Sure. The state of Georgia, 65 state agency sites were running on Vignette, which is more of a legacy type of content management platform. And the Georgia Technology Authority, or GTA, was the primary client for us. They were having a lot of difficulty updating features using Vignette. Right. So the GTA's responsibility is to assist these 65 state agencies in updating and maintaining their websites, and it just wasn't effective. In addition, they were paying huge licensing fees per year just to maintain their contract with Vignette. So they did a lot of due diligence in terms of researching what CMSs were out there that they could migrate to, and ended up deciding on Drupal. Our experience was primarily focused on assisting the migration of content from Vignette over into Drupal. So our team worked very, pretty much the whole time with the migrate module. We also used a couple of other techniques, content migration techniques and modules, but most of it was done via migrate. We worked on the project for about a year. Once we were fully ramped up and engaged, the project was moving along with 2-week sprints. So we would basically migrate one or two agency sites every 2 weeks.
Wow, that's quite a pace.
Yep. And in terms of the adoption within GTA, now that the project has finished and the platform has launched, as a kind of an aside, part of the project was building a multi-site platform for these agencies. So essentially, we built this custom multi-site platform that allowed agencies to roll out these sites at a quick pace, as I mentioned earlier. Internally, there's a lot of positive vibe around the new Georgia.gov web presence, and all the agencies are very happy with the sites that they're running on now. introducing new features is exponentially faster than it was when the sites were running on vignettes. So in all, it's been a great experience, for both parties, the GTA and Media Current.
Great. I'll have screenshots and some things up there during while you're going through all of that. You want to add anything there, Dave, or?
Yeah, no, I think one of the highlights is just the amount of taxpayer savings. Governor Deal came out with a press release that said, Georgia is now saving $4.6 million per year.
Wow.
With this new web presence. So that's pretty awesome. Really hope that the state of Georgia serves as a beacon for other state government agencies. We hope this is a trend that's going to continue. And if any of your listeners, any of the viewers want more information, be happy to provide it. There's a lot of data and a case study out there, around the Georgia.gov project.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Guys, just as we close here, thoughts on Drupal 8, and we'll be done.
Sure. Drupal 8, if I could encapsulate it into one word, it would be optimal enhancement. Well, that's two words, but scale it back to one word.
We'll hyphenate it.
Yeah. So, basically, the Drupal 8 initiative is going to focus on taking out a lot of the complexity that currently exists in Drupal 7. And one area that I could touch on is the template or theming layer with the introduction of the Twig templating system. Twig markup is very much reduced, and basically the approach is that Twig takes. It's completely opposite of the approach that you take in Drupal 7 as far as theming goes. Is Twig is an additive process. So you start off with a clean slate versus theming in Drupal 7. You start off with essentially what I would liken to a sculptor starting off with a block of marble, and you have to take away or chip off that block of marble until you get to what you want. So as far as adopting new developers to Drupal and helping new themers that are just getting acclimated with the Drupal project and the theming process, Twig is going to I think really provide an open doorway for a lot of developers and themers to ramp up on Drupal much more quickly. And the effect of that is growing the community at large.
Right. Assuming you guys will be at DrupalCon?
Yeah, we'll have a booth. So definitely, look out for the Media Current booth or the Media Current guys and gals.
For sure. Guys, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. Listen, this has been really great. Some fascinating things. Appreciate you sharing some insights into your company and some of the things that you are excited about in the future as well. So I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. Keep up the good work with OSTraining.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Thank you.